We are live.
Greetings, everyone. I want us to get started on time today. Uh, so, welcome to this week's live Sunday session with Knowledge, Healing, and Consciousness. We will be here every Sunday at 12 live. I am Queen Thandiwe. I am a holistic healer, spiritual life coach, all about transformation and really elevating the understanding and experience of self-love in our community, particularly our community of women. And Be'Wisdom, you want to introduce yourself?
Okay. I so hate doing this, but I'm P Wisdom. I'm one of the facilitators of the group. Um, I am also the founder of All Things Alicia, which incorporates a publishing company, a clothing line. We also have a holistic organic health body butters, health products for health products. Let's leave it there. What else? I have a blog talk radio network, so all that comes underneath the umbrella of All Things Alicia. I also will consider myself a Jegna um, in the educational realm, where I'm there to try to help facilitate the education of consciousness, healing, and knowledge of self. So that's who I am as Be Wisdom.
Awesome. So, like I said, either we will be here or one of our other two, our brothers, our family, Injegna Nation builders, will be here every Sunday, at least two of us, if not more. Please, if at some point during our exploration of today's topic, which is Ubuntu, I am because we are, you have a question or a comment, please post in the chat. We're going to do our best to see you. If we can't see your names, you can go in the StreamYard or just drop your name in your message just so we can speak to you by name as you share. So, sis, you want to start off just by sharing the definition of Ubuntu? That's a great place to start.
Yes, I'll do that. Our definition of Ubuntu means I am because we are. We are a family and community where none of us is as strong as all of us. We share a common history and common destiny. Ubuntu is about our contribution as a whole to the community. So we are an interdependent nation who uplifts, affirms, and makes ourselves available to and for each other. One of our codes that we live by and we walk by is I will respect and protect you. And that is our definition of Ubuntu. We have a little bit of discussion in the group today. Well, not today, all week actually, about Ubuntu and what it is, what it means. To everyone when they think of that word, what's the first thing that comes to mind? We had quite a few people come and comment on that, and it was really good. It was kind of a lot of commonality in it too, which was I think is a great thing because it's like we were all somewhat on the same wavelength with that. So that was awesome.
Some of the terms that people shared that they identified with was unity, connectivity, oneness, peace, brother Tainav. I am because we are. So it's that individual into the collective and then the collective back into the individual. It was a really beautiful share. If I can find it. Here we are by our brother. Oh, am I echoing? Malik. He mentioned the Zulu quote, "No elephant ever found its trunk too heavy." I am because we are, knowing that every act of love is an act of self-love, and every act of hate is an act of self-hate. I love you because I am you. I love you because I am you. That's really the hard-hitting thing. You know, we're in a very individualistic society. Most of us grew up here, grew up as a part of the system. You know, some of us more than others had households that were very original people focused, what some would call African focused or Afrocentric. And so we all got to varying degrees and understanding of what it is to be a part of a collective or a community. But if I'm honest, it was powerfully conditioned into me to be an individual. to look out for self, or this idea of looking out for my family, right? My mother, my father, my siblings, now that I have children in my family, my children. But most of the communities, tribal groups, villages in our community focuses on, I lost your image, sis, just so you know, in case you can't see it yourself. But most of our Afrocentric communities are focused on having a bunch of mommies, a bunch of daddies, uncles, aunties, and are very grounded in community. I wanted to talk initially about kind of how you live Ubuntu. There you are. How you live Ubuntu. And
Sorry
I
about
was
that.
looking at this, no worries. I was looking at this article, and they were talking about this brother in South Africa who, what is his name? Joe Magodi. He's a businessman in South Africa, and he bought 100 sewing machines at an auction and made them available to the men and the women in the community who were interested in starting their own tailoring businesses. And then as another, and I want to talk about this more too, the reciprocal part of Ubuntu, right? So it's not just this
Yes.
one directional thing.
Mhm.
He made it also available to them. What it says is he honored their dignity by making a simple verbal agreement that they would pay him for the machines once they got sufficient profits to begin interest-free payments. So he set it up in a way where it wasn't, what the term that likes to be used in the States is a handout, right? He didn't just
Yes.
hand them something and say, good for you. It was like, no, if I'm really becoming an entrepreneur or a person who has their own business, then I'm going to, through the use of this sewing machine, have the ability to pay you back. So now we have that more circle-based thing, as opposed to one person
Yes.
becoming depleted and another person being filled up, which is a
Mhm.
huge issue, I believe. And you let me know if you concur, in our community where everybody's just pouring out, where someone
Yes.
else is just taking. And you see people
Mhm.
all the time say they're burnt out, they're overwhelmed. People talk a lot about you can't pour from an empty cup. But people are attempting to do that. They're like stone dry. They have no more energy, no more time on their hands. But they're givers and they're of service. They struggle to receive. So a major part of Ubuntu is also this understanding of how I treat myself is
Yes.
reflected in my community. How I treat my community is reflected in myself. It's a constant circular, we're always plugged in. If I hurt, you bleed, vice versa.
Yes.
Um, and unfortunately, it's not ingrained in us as a collective. And so it's important to know, okay, what baby steps can we take to just even start moving into designing a community or conceiving or building a nation that moves this way. Like, how different would our world be?
I agree. I think I don't know what's up with my throat this morning. Excuse me, but one way to start that, it's kind of like something that I think the brother Malik put into his comment was, when you give, and you show your love, you're showing your love for yourself. So because I love myself, this is what I'm doing for my collective, for my community. And one thing that we were kind of saying about Ubuntu is that it is something that is what I individually do impacts us all together. And when I take, I have to give something back, like you said. So it's always a ongoing process. And the reason for that is so that we can maintain my balance, not just also balance, but truth, order, harmony, law, morality, justice, everything that my you know incorporates.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways to be able to begin to do that, as always, it always starts in our mind, thinking
Mm-hmm.
differently and understanding that what I do affects more than just me.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook group users, and I guess your name is just, it starts at the microcosms to the macrocosm. So with self and immediate cipher. Very true,
Mm.
which is kind of sort of what I was saying. I didn't say it like that, but yeah, same thing.
Thank you, brother John.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
microcosm to the macro, and then the macro also affects the micro, right? That's
Yes.
the really beautiful thing about it, is when you get in the flow of that process, you realize just how supported you are. something that comes up a lot in coaching with women and all the different, right? Sisterhood is another example of Ubuntu.
Yes.
More concentrated or specific in group, but it's the same thing, that people don't realize how much support they have around them. It's like if you would just tap into it, but it's a lot of survival mechanism programmed into us as a collective, particularly here in the States, where we're just getting by or getting over, or we're used to a struggle. And so we're always taking on that posture. But if we would just relax, we can actually scope the whole scene of what we have available. And now that I'm more open to it, support shows up everywhere. Anytime that I need something, it's not even a problem. And I think an issue that I used to have is not realizing just how much value I bring as me, my particular skill set, my particular orientations, the things that I have as a part of me. And so now that I am a part of also being Jegna's and sisterhood and facilitating, circles and in school environments and everything, I'm realizing just how much support I can offer. So it can always be, because everyone has their strengths, everyone plays their role, everyone is a strand in this like beautiful tapestry that we have or that we could have. If everybody would just realize, one, how valuable they are, and then also how much value they really have in their immediate communities, and then spiraling out. We're so global with access to the internet. Like, my goodness. And sometimes all you got to do is reach out to somebody, and people are like, great, I have the opportunity to help support, in this way. I can come in and serve and fill in that blank spot that maybe you have. And that's how, none of us is as strong as all of us. Sticks in a bundle are unbreakable, right? These are these sayings and proverbs that really speak to the power of Ubuntu.
Exactly. And even what you were saying, um, and Ubuntu, how they all kind of interconnect with each other. And even that we have talked about how they all interconnect with each other. Being Jegnas and Jegnies, even with that one, how, one needs the other one, and it's ongoing circle of it. I give to you, you give to me. It's a, I receive, you give, I give.
Right.
And same Ubuntu. And like you said, us all being able to understand what it is that we do bring to the table. Some people don't understand that they actually do bring something to the table. What you are valuable. We all are valuable in the things that we do. We growing up here in the Western world and with the Western mentality, it's been a big emphasis on, if you do this or if you are this, then you are more worthy than if you do this.
Right.
More worthy if you are out there in the corporate world versus being a mother staying at home. They always put different emphasis on it. As a man, you're more worthy than a woman, in certain aspects or whatever. So we do that in understanding that you need everything in order to make the whole work right, and it goes into the point of your hand, without your fingers, you mess up one finger, your hand cannot work the way it needs to work efficiently to be able, to do what you need it to do. It's the same thing in the community. Whether you are the farmer, whether you are the elder that we go to for healing, whether you are the mother that stays home with the children and watch them, or you make the pots for us to cook out of. We need all of that in order us to be sufficient and to work and to live effectively as a community.
Yeah.
And that's Ubuntu.
I think also it's important to state that this actually spills also into the non-living space. I experienced an immense amount of support spiritually when I started to communicate, pray to, speak the names of my ancestors. And so I think it's a really important point to bring up, because sometimes when people talk about nation building and community building, people are still thinking about external and what's in front of them. But also a part of our community is those who came before us. A part of Ubuntu is understanding what their successes were, what their struggles were. And then even however, people practice, however they, experience spirituality or philosophy. In my case, it was speaking the names of, because I could feel that energy as an intuitive. For someone else, it may just be learning from their history and their stories. So it's important, and a part of Ubuntu also is to continue to pass their stories forward. A major part of our reach back, yes, brother, brother Takeoff said Sankofa. That's exactly
Yes.
it. That we don't want to miss that a part of Ubuntu is also collapsing time and reaching back and also reaching forward. Is he joining the conversation? I just want to see. I'm not sure how the text works.
No, no, that's just me. Certain people put in comments. I'll add them here so everyone can see the
Oh,
comments that they're saying that are
yeah.
what we're talking about at that time. But
Okay.
yes, it's wonderful, and I just love the way how all the topics and the things that are so important to us, they all are very much intertwined together. Like you can't have one
Mhm.
without the other. The quantum courage. We talk about Sofa and Jenaship, um, Ubuntu. All these things are interconnected with each other, and
Mhm.
we need them to create the communities that we say we want, that we're going to have, that we're working to have. In our Black communities.
Yeah, I think we tend to, again, in this society, reach to more European ways of doing things, community centers and things of that sort. And and some, it's always really wonderful to see some really embrace more Afrocentric or original people centered ways of doing things in a more African way. Knowledge itself is foundational, I say. Um, so if we make those decisions, if we determine how those collectives look, whether it's the schools that we build, community centers that we have, initiatives that we have in the community, and we are really thoughtful and intentional about where the origin of those things come from, the practices that we bring into our communities and all of that is really important because that's a part of protecting culture. And so I bring up Ubuntu. We bring up Ubuntu to bring it back to that perspective, to bring it back to the original people, because we often end up being edged out, or somebody Western appropriates the topic and then reorients it, forgets kind of where it came from, and then uses it for their purposes. So it's important that we keep what's African front of mind and center and operate for our highest good from there. Our brother John says, without trust, none of this is possible. So it's important to establish that first. I agree with that. You want to speak to that, sis?
Mhm. Yes, I totally agree. And I think the way we start by doing that is by one that we talked about last week is courage. And it takes courage to step out to do that.
Yeah.
Understanding the reason why we don't trust each other. Because of our past, because of the shared history that we have, are some of the reasons why we don't trust each other. So one, first understanding that, putting it on your mind and not in your subconscious, but on your forefront of your brain, and being courageous enough to walk past that, to move forward through that, to start trusting each other, finding like-minded individuals, and just beginning to build. That's all we can do, as far as trust. It's one person to take a step forward, um, and be courageous enough to trust the individual. I trust you, Queen Thandiwe. I trust Clyde. I trust
Right.
Taynab. I trust the individual in our group. And we trusted each other because we did not know each other
Did
from a
not.
can of paint,
Not at all.
to come together and decide we all want a community. We want to live to, you know. And so we decided, well, let's do this together. And it has been a wonderful and awesome journey. It's courageous for us to do that, and we're still courageous every day that we do that. So that's how we begin to learn how to start trusting each other. It has to be
We have
courageous enough
a
to take that step.
when you have a common goal, a common code that we run by. Um,
Yes.
I want to speak to this before I address Brother Taynav's statement. Oh, there you go. We'll stay on code. See, look at the synchronicity. Yes, that
We
when there's a
always be
common,
syncing it up together.
we do that all the time. I know, it's so crazy. Because that's the point that I wanted to speak to. When we have a common code, the four of us, four different individuals, four different walks of life, four different contexts and history, we do not have to agree on every philosophical, spiritual, political, cultural thing as it concerns our people, but we can agree that we want elevation in our community. We know that, we want healing in our community, which is a huge thing around
Mhm.
trust. And we know that we are nation builders as a collective, and we know that's the best thing for our community. So
Yes.
that's the basis of everything that we do. And then we operate based on a code, just like every other ethnic group in the world. They hold each other down, and then they deal with their internal mess amongst themselves. But same way you got family code, the same way you got community code. Me and my husband, we connected. We on code out there in the world. We agree with each other, even if when we get home, we work it out, we hash it out. That's what needs to happen in a family. And Ubuntu says in our community, the diaspora is family. And we need to hold each other down as a diaspora, as family, understanding how interconnected we are. And I also want to say about trust, um, a lot just in my work with healing work with people, a lot of people don't trust themselves. A lot of people don't trust their
Yes.
choices. A lot of people
There.
don't trust the actions that they're going to take or the plans that they have. They don't have integrity with themselves. So they'll make a promise to themselves and not follow through.
Mhm.
So now, if we're talking about, as our brother brought up, effective interdependence, well, now if we're interdependent, so now not only am I not holding integrity with me, without holding integrity with myself, now I can't keep integrity with you and with the collective community, right? If I see just my mother and father, well, now I'm disappointing two people. But what if every elder is my mommy and my daddy in the community? Well, now I done let a whole
Yes.
community of people down. And if I don't start with trust
Exactly.
of self, right? Knowledge of self, trust of self, forgiving mistakes that we've
Mhm.
made, it's kind of hard then to look to another individual and say, I can trust you because I don't even trust me. And I actually don't even think you should trust me because I'm out of integrity with myself. So, a major part of the
Exactly.
responsibility of building an Ubuntu culture and community is staying in integrity, being reliable, and understanding the importance of interdependence, and not seeing interdependence as just something that's going to weigh on you, but see it as something that will also benefit you because it's that circle, it's that reciprocal kind of I am you, you are me, and we are all benefiting and uplifting or hurting the collective by the choices we make and the action we take in the
Exactly.
world.
Exactly. So it goes back again to, it starts with knowledge of self is foundational, which is what Taynaf said, because with knowledge, then you have the integrity that you're had because I trust myself, therefore I trust you. And
Mm-hmm.
understanding again that go back to Ubuntu, I am because we are. What I am comes from you, comes from all of us. And like you said, it's being responsible. And I understand that
Mm-hmm.
everything that I do affects all, and everything that you do affects us all. So when you walk in integrity, you understand that, you see that, and then you try to be the best self that you can be. Like we said on
Mm-hmm.
code, and some of the codes that we some of the things we said is that I will respect and protect you. None of us is strong as us. Understand this, and all of that I am because we are. And those are some of the beginning codes that we need to kind of help us. We have to reprogram our minds, our stuff. Miseducation. We have to take out the miseducation and put in the correct education. And get the stuff that has been indoctrinated into us for hundreds of
Century.
years. Yes, centuries. So that we can have these new understandings, these new codes, and let them be a part of who we are, our culture, our everyday living, versus us having to always constantly have to remind ourselves of what they are. Certain things you automatically do. You wake up in the morning, you breathe. Certain things you just automatically do because you have been programmed to do them over the however many years you have been alive. So now
Mm-hmm.
it's time try to reprogram ourselves with the right information that's best for us and us as a collective.
When you were saying that, I was thinking about the word internalize, because that's what happens when you get indoctrinated. You internalize oppressive systems. You internalize Western philosophies and perspectives. You internalize non proper education, as Tainab is sharing with us. And so there's a lot of what you say shift in mindset. There's a lot of overriding that needs to take place.
Yes.
Because really, if I'm thinking every action I take, in fact, impacts the collective, then my self awareness goes up. we kind of experience that when we have kids.
Mhm.
That, you talk reckless, you do reckless things, and then you have a baby and you like, oh, wait, maybe I shouldn't say that, or maybe I shouldn't do that, maybe I shouldn't eat that, maybe I shouldn't go there. It raises your level of self-awareness if we function from a place as a collective, that everything we do also impacts everybody and everything that's happening in the collective, then we stay more aware of self and also more aware of what's going on in the community. A lot of us, and I'm guilty of this myself, close ourselves off in our own individual lives and have no idea what's happening in our community.
True.
Or overwhelmed
Very
by
true.
the need for resistance against white supremacy. Let somebody come to you and talk to you about some project to push back against white supremacy. It can be overwhelming because it's big and it's been in place for a really long time and it's powerful. So, I think a lot of people are just looking at, okay, what's one way that I can contribute to the collective? What's one way I can step into that is not overwhelming, that I can somehow figure out how to make time for? Um, and find a place in my life to do that. And that's why I brought up the example of the sewing machines. Um, to be creative. I think one of our sisters in the comments put something about cooperative economics also being about Ubuntu. Something
Yes.
as simple as I need to go buy, I don't know, makeup. Let me go find a black company to get that from. I need to get a new bed or whatever it is you need to do because of the structure of advertising, marketing, what's available to us. You take that extra step to either make a phone call or post something on social media or whatever and say, who knows of a place that I can get a couch that's black owned, right? You may win, you may not, with that, but that's a step to establish I have a connection to these businesses through cooperative economics. I'm going to make sure that I spend my money there first before I do or look at, the larger companies, the Targets, the Walmarts, the Amazons, and all of that. I'm going to make sure I turn my sights and my energy into that space. That's a part of cooperative economics, which is definitely a part of Ubuntu.
Exactly. It goes back to us, that circle that we're talking about. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Of us to continually be a part of each other's lives and understanding that what one of us does affects all of us. And how we do that with economics part is, you're coming to you versus going to someone outside, for the things
Mm-hmm.
that I need, keeping it within the community.
Mm-hmm.
What you do affects me. When you're uplifted, I'm uplifted. And,
Mm-hmm.
understand. I think that's one thing we really need to understand because, they do have this whole stigma they like to put in the black community of us being crab barrel. Only could be one black this. It can only one be black that. One black major superstar, football player, actress, or whatever, or in the company is only could be one of us. So when we see another sister coming in the company, we trying to do
Get
something to make
nervous.
sure, yeah, get nervous. Oh, here come another black chick. Let me go ahead and, make sure she don't come where I'm at, so you hiding stuff from them or whatever we do. And that's something that we kind of talked about the other day too. Is like you said, the sisterhood is an example of Ubuntu in the community and how we have been programmed to always be side at each other, distrust each other. Oh, here she come. Let me make sure she don't get more attention than me, or um, you know. I was a popular one. Now here you come, and everybody looking at you because you the new girl and you cute or whatever. So now I got
Right.
to act like we friends. So you my girl, but on a down low,
On
yo,
some
don't
fake stuff.
exactly. And
That's why
trying to
healing is so important.
system. Yes. Knowledge of self. I think everything that we stand on, and why we have our group named the way we did, knowledge, healing, and consciousness, they are the foundations of what we need to accomplish in order for us to get to the grander things that we want to do as far as building the communities that we want to have. Without
Yeah.
those things, without the healing, without understanding knowledge of self, and getting into the consciousness of who we are, um, and where we come from, we can't build on. We can't be nation builders. It starts there.
Mhm. Our brother John shares here. We need to be mindful of the things that work against us, being community minded, knowledge of self is paramount. However, the next is seeing what limits us from being great. And I think, speaking directly to your point about comparison, competitiveness, if I've worked on my healing and my insecurities, then I only want to see my sister win. I only want to see my brother win when they come into a situation. And instead of making them the enemy within, say, corporate environments or really heavily westernized environments, we both step back and see the system at play that's pitting us against each other. And we say, no, because I am a part of the original people, we don't do that. We don't do competitiveness. We do cooperation. We don't do comparison. We do collaboration. I'm not functioning as an individual. I'm a part of a collective in an Ubuntu way of mindset and way of moving. So that's why I point out, and like you said, knowledge, consciousness, and healing. Healing opens the way to actually be able to receive the knowledge through the right lens. Because I could read all day long, but if my whole system is all tore up and I'm insecure and I ain't dealt with my issues from childhood or whatever, then I'm actually going to use that knowledge. This is really important to point out because I see people do it all the time. You ever hear somebody quote something really wise, but use it in a way that's janky and supports their pathology? That is problematic. Because you can be brilliant intellectually and be an emotional mess or spiritually disconnected. So it's a really important thing that our people at the core of them understand how divine they are, particularly as melanated original people. And I realize my divinity, well, then I know the source of my supply is infinite. So now I have a huge shift in mindset. And now I lock arms with all my family around me, family as in community. And now I'm transferring, because that's contagious. I'm transferring that healing. I'm transferring that consciousness. I'm transferring this unlimited, infinite, abundant way of seeing ourselves within our community and our people. So now when we step in a westernized situation, now we on code, right? Because the code says you are divine, I am divine. I'm not going to fight with you. That's code. I'm not going to be competitive with you. Let's collaborate and knock all the rest of this westernized competition out as a collective. That's Ubuntu. That's how we are supposed to move. That's what would support us in our movement. And we just got to take every little baby step it takes until we get back there. Because that's the thing we need to understand too. This is not a destination that we've never been to. It's just one that's been blurred in our vision and been indoctrinated out of us. And it's just a matter of removing what's been layered over and conditioned, what's been internalized in this oppressive, marginalizing white supremacist system, and then reawakening our collective memory as the original people. I'm sorry, I get on a little tirade, but you know how I do.
Oh no, you good, you good. I think too, what seeing what limited us from being great. I think we all know what limits us from being great. It's one thing to know, it's another to understand. It's another take that knowledge and actually incorporate it into your life, which is understanding. So we just said it's plenty of us that know a lot. We know a lot of people know a lot of things. And they speak it all the time. It's one thing to speak it, it's another thing to walk it.
And that walk requires healing.
Oh yes,
it might be a long, no, just to your point, like that's the part I think people that over intellectualize everything miss. It's like, you're good for you. You read 50 books and you've entertained yourself and you've memorized, whether it's everything from scripture to history facts or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you haven't worked on your personal process and your experience of life and how you view things through healing, it's entertainment.
I agree. I think healing does come first. And I do think that there are a lot of people who remove that part of the process and it comes later on. So we think, like you said, we read these books, we got all this information and we just move forward. And it doesn't stick. It doesn't stay. If you don't remove the stuff that's there first, if you just pile on top of it, then all that gets dirty too. You know, it's cloudy. And so you have to remove the other things, so which requires healing. So healing definitely is the beginning of us living on code with Ubuntu. And then their healing, then you have to bring in to be able to knowledge yourself. And it can be some of it for some people can be done simultaneously. I think to a degree it is, but the first step is until you acknowledge that you have to work on something, you have to there is something that you need to change about you, and then face that stuff. And that's what healing is: identifying some of the issues you may have, and be willing to work through them.
Yeah,
And
facing yourself.
Yeah, facing it. Yeah, can't get
Facing
knowledge
yourself.
yourself.
Facing yourself. Right. How you gonna get knowledge yourself if you can't face yourself? Your light and your
Exactly.
shadow. Our brother brings up the SWOT, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Um, and I think that's an ongoing thing. It's like when you watch a movie or you read a book and you got one thing out of it when you read it 1 year and then you read it again 5 years later and you got a whole new slew of things. To have that ongoing understanding, all right, where am I strong, which is really important, because people are very good at tearing themselves down, but they forget to celebrate and really say, what am I good at, or what are my skills, or what am I bringing to this collective community. And then he talked about opportunities and threats, and opportunities even just brings me back to the thought I had earlier about how much support you actually have around you, how much you actually have available if you raised your self-awareness. Self-awareness is so important. And then the threats,
Yes.
understanding, like I mentioned, when you go in those corporate environments and it's like, hold up, this is not us. We're fighting each other, but that's not the threat. I'm not threatening to you. You're not threatening to me. This threatening situation has been created by a corporate Western situation or whatever situation that we find ourselves in. Let's figure out what the real quote unquote enemy is so we can collaborate and figure out how to overcome it together. Because if I don't win, you don't win. If you don't win, I don't win. It has to be a mutually beneficial thing. Winning as an individual, whatever success measure is to you, money or whatever, now you're up there by yourself and your people still drowning. Overall, that does not benefit you. You don't build a legacy that way, nothing. What do we have here?
Some pretty good comments in here. We have a comment saying, having knowledge is one thing. Understanding is the part. The highest form of understanding is love. Once you understand yourself, understanding that your people are you. Once you truly love you, you love your people. Now that will flow into your culture, how you live your life daily, which is very true. Which is what Brother Malik said in his comment on Ubuntu. Same exact thing. Once you truly love yourself, you love your people. Understanding that what I do for you is showing how much I love myself. Yes. I love myself so much that I'm promoting my sister. I'm just, thinking about it. You having conversations about what you were doing the other day. We were talking, and I'm looking at myself like saying something on the lines of, you kind of just doing word of mouth now. And the first thing this is what I think about when I'm with my brothers and sisters and they talk about me. How can I help promote them? I got people like I already like, yo, I'm thinking, now first I gotta ask hey, can you handle it? Because I got like 5 people like, I'm about to send you away, sis. Here you go. I love me enough that I want to see you. When you win, I win. I'm up there rooting for you, because when I am because you, I am because we are, because you are, that kind of thing. Again, before we get to what Tay now said, because I want us to answer that question, I'm gonna read some of these other comments that's in there. Understanding has to pair with overstanding, as a word is nothing without knowing what it means. We are left empty by not truly knowing what a word means. Or another way to say this: much study and no self-study. Okay. That's true.
Overstanding. As a word is nothing without knowing what it means. We are left. I think what I'm receiving, and definitely correct me if I'm wrong, what I'm receiving from this is that it's more than just kind of reading and taking in information. It's an internalization. What I like to say is I get it now down to my bones, because once that happens, you start to live it, and it's beyond the intellect, it's beyond entertainment, it's beyond me adding to the list of things that I quote unquote know. A part of the study is self-inquiry, asking questions of the self. Is there any other things you want to mention before we talk about?
Well, no. what I really want to do is, and I really want to hear from you, and answering
Yeah.
what we were talking about healing, and considering the fact that we're all saying that healing is the beginning. So in order for
Yeah.
us to, we were talking about how to get to Ubuntu, and start healing is the first thing. So
Yeah.
Tam now said ways of healing. What are ways that we as a collective, as community, we do know it starts with self healing, but what are ways that we can begin to heal to get to these pillars and these that we have been talking about on our lives?
Well, one that someone also brought up was introspection. Um, and that is a difficult thing, right? Introspection, what I like to call it self inquiry, being able to ask honest, hardcore questions of the self, alone, taken into meditation, as you breathe. Why is it feeling that way? Why am I having the experience? This is all about raising the level of self awareness because a lot of people sleepwalk. A lot of people function from a place of default, which means all these inner children, if you will, all these past experiences are simply rewriting and recreating the same as you move forward. So the first thing is to stop and actually become aware. And I also wouldn't say healing is necessarily first as much as it's foundational, meaning that it
Okay.
should be a part of what's holding you the entire time. I am not fully healed. You're not fully healed. It's not this one place that you get to and you're like, yeah, I'm done. It's an ongoing detoxification, rejuvenate. The same way you would detox your body and then fill it with good things, you need to detox mental issues, mental mindset, beliefs. Like really just sitting down and going, well, what do I believe about being black? What do I believe about being a man or a woman? What do I believe about being successful? What do I believe about joy or being whole? What do I believe about my possibilities and having that experience? What do I believe about the prospect of being in community with my people? Because you might actually be like, I actually don't trust them. Or
Mm.
I'm actually not comfortable in community. I'd rather be the self. These are the kind of things that pull them out and highlight. And for different people, it could look different ways. You could just end up having a conversation with yourself via journaling or, any practice because everybody's different. But it's really important to pull those beliefs and those mindsets and those nervous system reaction modes, right? Somebody talks to you a certain way, like we talked about the job, and another sister or brother comes in, and you have this subconscious belief that only one of us could be at the top. Now, it might
Mhm.
not be conscious even. You just know that your whole nervous system got uncomfortable. Your heart started beating faster. You got butterflies in your stomach, and all of a sudden you doing little conniving, low key stuff in the situation rather than holding your sister or your brother up. That's problematic. But if you never stop and go, whoa, why am I doing this? Or whoa, I'm even doing this at all. Maybe there's another way of going about it. You're
Mhm.
not going to get to the point where you adjust behavior. Behavior changes based on belief shifting, based on mindset shifting, based on taking command of and deciding, wait, what do I want to believe? What am I trying to become? What's my vision for my community? I think a lot of people have the vision that they want, cops to stop killing black people. But well, what do you want to see? And
Yes.
how clear is that vision? And how collective is that vision? Is that vision just for you to win, or is that vision for us to win? And what does that even mean for us to win?
Exactly.
Healing is big.
It
So for
is.
people, I'm huge on meditation. If I could offer anything to anyone, is to have those silent, still moments for yourself, however you define them. There's a lot of different ways to meditate that we can't go into for the scope of this live. But talking about introspection and having that moment of stillness with self, where you actually allow your own divinity to speak to you and operating from there makes a huge difference. And your divinity will start pointing things out to you that are not divine, that you're either doing or projecting, where your energy is actually flowing, really tapping into the intuition. All of these are places to plug into. And then, cleaning up how you eat.
Yes.
I
Thank
always
you.
come back to that too. Cleaning up how you eat clears your mind. up.
Yes.
And now you're not processing through addictions and hormones and whatever meat you eating, or too much processed food or junk food and sugar and all that stuff clouds the mind, makes it hard to have knowledge of self, makes it more difficult to have a clear vision of what you want for your life and your community, makes it difficult really to think for your own personal empowerment elevation. I'm not saying you can't do it, but it certainly supports the process to constantly detox yourself of the chemicals that you put in your body that may block your clarity of thought. So that's kind of like a quick overview. We got a lot more
Yes, it's one thing I want
comments
to
in here.
talk about. But before then, I'm just thinking
Yeah,
what you just said. I think, hey, we might be having a live in a couple weeks on this one. Food and its effects on us, healing, consciousness, and knowledge of self. We,
I sure.
we ever with this, but yeah.
I'm
But
with it. Yes, we can.
in order to reach the people, we have to come to the people as the people. Speaking above their heads serves no purpose. It only leads to a misunderstanding. Ashe, and that's why we do the lives that we do. Um, we are the people. We are not above or beneath them. We are all together. Like we said, we're Ubuntu. I am because you are. None of us as strong as all of us. That's why we come in these informal ways to have conversations, speak with each other,
Mm-hmm.
hear from each other. It's not just about what, the 2, 3, or 4 of us that are on here speaking, but it's about what we say as a collective, because we understand that it takes a village
Mm-hmm.
um, to fortify us, not just a village just to raise our children, but a village to fortify us all in all aspects of us together as a community. So yeah, never the whole speaking above anyone's head. I don't think.
No, I think it's really important to meet people where they are. We actually really talked about that big time when it came to formulating even this Facebook group, was that, really passionate about making a space for people to ask questions, for people to frankly be ignorant of things, to say something that, perhaps a quote unquote more learned person would be maybe shocked to hear, but this is where they're starting from. To make mistakes, to be messy in the process of learning and growing. Because if we don't, we're leaving out a huge segment of our community that either hasn't been exposed to things that we've had exposure to. I remember how ignorant I was when I was in my 20s. I didn't want to be ignorant. It took someone walking into my life and saying, hey, consider this, and me sitting with it and being willing and open. That's really what the prerequisite of all this is an openness to be stretched and to take in new information and to process it, to sit with it, even if it doesn't jive with you right away, because sometimes it does get uncomfortable. Um, we're going to show up as we are and as who we are,
Yes.
but always, cause I'm going to talk like I talk, like that is what it is. But I do get that understanding. Like, I'm always very uncomfortable when I see these, Black consciousness spaces that just judge and come down on people.
Yes.
You still gotta relax in your hair, you blah blah blah, you still got, this way of living that, or you still eat meat, or you still, but what I'm supposed to do, cut everybody off because they don't live exactly according to whatever list that we came up with, or you haven't read XYZ book, so I can't talk to you, or
Yeah.
that's a problem. It's a problem that
Exactly.
really annoys me to no end. When there's no room or space for somebody not to know or to be ignorant as hell.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. I was,
Exactly.
hell am, depending on what topic we talking about. And when I don't know what I'm talking about, I shut the hell up. Because now it's not my
Exactly.
arena. Now I'm looking for my community, my Ubuntu community, to lift me up in the areas that I need help with.
Exactly. Recognize again, none of us are strong as all of us, and we all can't know everything. And yeah, going back to what we were saying a few times about, when we have those peoples in some of those conscious communities where they do kind of demean other brothers and sisters because they're not doing what they're doing, saying what they're saying, or know what they know. I think back for me goes back to, again, you have not healed yourself, one, and you're talking about the Western ways and how they are negative and not forced, but yet you are living out those same philosophies and mentalities because you are now downplaying your Black people even worse than the white man does. So now you're even worse than that. How can that possibly help us as a group? You're still doing what they have wanted us to do. You're just doing it in a different manner versus say using a certain type of religion to do it. You're using your consciousness to do it and demean
Right.
and put yourself above someone else. Oh, now you stupid because you don't know this, or calling you an Uncle Tom or this, that, and the other,
Right.
because you don't do what they do, you don't know what they do. And yeah, that irks the hell out of me when I see that.
Yeah.
And that's when I see it, I call it out. I've had some brothers I had conversations with, and I say, hey brother, listen, you have some awesome words that you speak and you giving, but the way you giving it to brothers and sisters, ain't nobody hearing you because we on defense every time you open your mouth. So
Yeah.
after defense, I can't hear nothing you say, nothing.
Mm-mm.
So no, I equate it to we all have that person in our family who has challenges or some type of disability. That own.
Mm-hmm.
So we understand that when we deal with them differently than we deal with everyone else. So if I'm
Mm-hmm.
meeting them where they are, so if I have a brother or sister that I'm talking to that may not know anything about consciousness or whatever topic we're talking about, meet them where they are, talk to them in that manner, like I would do with my uncle that back in the day. We said, well, Uncle so and so, he's a little special. So how we deal with uncle is, you have more patience with uncle,
Mm-hmm.
by you talk to him differently. You make sure you give him this or that versus with, your other cousins, like, hey, go do the whatever. You know what it is. The same thing that we have to understand to each other. We have to show that love for each other. And I think it goes back again to healing because I have not healed myself. I'm just projecting that anger out in a different manner with the knowledge that I know, with the information that has been given to me. So I'm not using wisdom. I'm not using understanding in anything that I'm doing. I just got this knowledge on top of this pain. So now that knowledge has been tainted by the pain and the hurt and the programming of the Western world. And now I'm throwing it back at you. And
Yeah.
it's us as a community at all.
That's true. I mean, just even when you think about the concept of Ubuntu, one of the most powerful teachers to me was watching someone live the example of their consciousness. Sitting
Yeah.
back and watching someone, and you witness it long enough, then you show up with questions. You show up, and then that opens the way. Like, okay, and then it's really, rather than beat you over the head with it, what do you want to know? Because the what do you want to know lets you know where that person wants to start or feels comfortable in starting.
Exactly.
So just making ourselves available, um, from wherever we are, whatever our strengths are, whatever our skill set is, to members of our community wherever they are, by also
Mm-hmm.
walking our talk and living in integrity with ourselves.
Yes.
This is also how we impact the collective by what we do with our own lives as individuals. A person sees you healing, sees you living in peace, see you living with elevated joy. When they're around you, it's just something about your vibration and your energy that just, lights them up. They're going to come to you eventually when they're ready. Or they may just start enacting stuff that they see you do, never telling you. We never know sometimes how we've impacted, just in how we show up. I know I've been impacted in ways that perhaps I haven't necessarily told every single person that's had an effect on me. But I think this is a good place to wrap it up. Is there anything else you wanted to say about Ubuntu and Ubuntu nation building, and that is a part of the collective culture?
No, I think we kind of pretty much touched on everything. We appreciate all you guys and the interaction that we've had with you all.
Comments. Mm-hmm.
I love it. Next week we're going to be coming to you guys again on Sunday at 12. Um, and our topic is going to be love. And we're going to have our brother Clive and Queen Thandiwe will be back again talking on the topic of love. So we hope we
Mm-hmm.
see you back again and even more you guys for us to help continue to build this nation that we're trying to build.
Ashe.
I say peace and blessings to you all. Until next
Peace and
time.
blessings.